Good morning. It's October 13th, 2019, a little after 11 a.m. in Los Angeles. My name is Scott. Harassment has been pretty bad for the last 2-3 months. I've been putting together recommendations for a task force for the government to assist targeted individuals and their complaints and documentation and getting medical attention and support. My recommendations already posted on the internet. They are at DEW Taskforce.blogspot.com. Again, that's DEW, like directed energy weapon, taskforce.blogspot.com. If you have any other questions about mind control information, I have another blog. It's literally 90 to 100 pages and growing. That is located on the internet at mindcontrolinformation.blogspot.com. So earlier this year, I started reaching out to mayors and city council members, and I seem to have some luck with them. I was getting responses from a lot of them, and they were considering setting up a task force to assist in the directed energy weapon abuse problem that we are having, citizens are having. Them not knowing what it's like to be a targeted individual or harassed by these weapons. They have no idea what the potential is. They have no idea what it's like. They have no idea what to offer that would be of use or assistance or be appreciated. So I decided to come up with a list of recommendations, and it's a safety net to keep people from falling through the cracks, being isolated, and resulting in horrible behavior like we've seen on the news. So again, all of these recommendations are subject to change. I welcome any suggestions that you have. They're all located at DEW taskforce.blogspot.com. I'm going to go ahead and read you what I've written and go through, and hopefully I'm going through one more time trying to add something that I didn't have. So this is recommendations for a directed energy weapon task force from a city, county, state, and federal level. This document was designed for distribution to government officials as far as recommendations are concerned. Task Force Protocol. The task force objective is to provide assistance to alleviate the directed energy weapon abuse and harassment against citizens until the laws can be changed. Individuals that are targeted by these weapons need resources made available to prevent conditions in which extreme behavior occurs in an effort to circumvent extremism. Excuse me, I'm getting harassed. Targeted individuals, or those being abused with directed energy weapons, need assistance facilitating and streamlining the process of documenting their complaints of directed energy weapon abuse. Even when targeted individuals successfully explain to others that they are receiving harassment from an external source, people just don't know how to help them. The goal is to open the lines of communication in order to document, prevent isolation, assist, monitor, promote social activities, foster spirituality, and provide faster help to those who complain of directed energy weapon abuse before they become a threat to themselves or anyone else in society. The key to success in reducing extremist behavior and incidents is addressing and preventing isolation and reinforcing relationships and a sense of spirituality. Furthermore, Avoiding isolation by giving people a place to complain and vent makes people feel as if they are doing something constructive to help themselves. Reinforce a sense of spirituality by making people feel they are responsible for all of their actions in this lifetime. Directed energy weapon abuse overview. Directed energy weapons are being used on citizens for remote neural monitoring and manipulation from a distance. The people being abused, targeted individuals, are being tortured and provoked with no way of defending themselves and no one to complain to. The experiments are involuntary and are disguised as electronic harassment by the people conducting them, perpetrators or perps. They are getting away with it by manipulating and constructing gangstalking in people's minds in order to make people appear paranoid and delusional. The intent is to hide behind the paranoid and delusional behavior of the people they target to prevent from getting caught. Moreover, many targeted individuals experience burning sensations on their skin that leaves a red mark. Unfortunately, they are under the impression that they are being hit directly in that area rather than being targeted in the brain to heat up certain areas of their body. The burns are so intense that they leave a red mark and are known as microwave burns. Furthermore, a web of disinformation exists on the internet to prevent and suppress those that are targeted from speaking with authorities. In addition to psychological harassment, targeted individuals get physically debilitated into isolation. I get pummeled constantly. Note to targeted individuals: regardless of whether or not you agree with the views about gangstalking and microwave burns associated with this document, the assistance that is available to you will remain the same. Targeted individuals would have the ability to record and document circumstances of gangstalking and microwave burns. Despite any differences of opinion, concentrate on the rehabilitation and what you would be of value to you. Make your life easier and eliminate isolation. We have to start getting assistance as soon as possible. Eliminating the possibility of mental illness. There's an epidemic of people hearing harassing voices. Legally, any doctor would have to check to see if the source of the voices is a mental illness. That involves seeing a psychiatrist and taking psych medications to address the possibility of a mental illness. Initially, some targeted individuals will not want to take medication for something they are absolutely positive is an artificial attack and definitely not a mental illness. However, I don't believe they have a choice because of the liability involved. All targeted individuals can get degraded and denigrated to a point where they actually won't care and will agree to take psych medications if they think their nightmare will go away. They will agree and cooperate as long as they feel someone is listening and they are making progress to regain control of their lives again. I've taken medication for almost 18, 19 years straight. Nothing helps. The first key to success is avoiding isolation, creating 24/7 facilities. Targeted individuals have a tendency to spiral downwards faster when isolated because it is easier to feel helpless when you are alone. Open up as many lines of communication as possible in order to circumvent the isolation. Furthermore, a mutual stigma exists between law enforcement and those deemed mentally ill or unfit. Effort needs to be put forth to break down those barriers and instill trust between the two so they can feel comfortable interacting and communicating with one another. Targeted individuals need to feel safe reaching out for help from hospitals, police, FBI, etc. The drug company Cigna has been helpful recently, airing ads to see a doctor if they don't feel well in mind and body. Perhaps drug companies can be convinced to be more helpful breaking down the mental health stigma. After all, they stand to make money from the drugs. Establish a virtual care center as well as have a physical location available to visit in order to break down the barriers of isolation. What targeted individuals need or require? They need a place to go and call for support. They need a place to document attacks by phone, internet, or in person. Having a toll-free number or a hotline to call, a crisis counselor, a website to complain, and a physical location to visit would all prevent the feeling of helplessness and isolation. Need a text or call check-in on a daily or weekly basis to minimize isolation and stay in touch with the people being tortured and abused by directed energy weapons. The ability to file a report with law enforcement, FBI, police, etc., without the risk of being blocked or locked up. Depending on the budget and demand, targeted individuals can use a small hospital-type facility to provide sanctuary for time when times get tough and they are frazzled, under pressure, being attacked, etc. Establishing a support infrastructure available at all hours due to their nature to attack in the middle of the night. They constantly attack me at 3 or 4 in the morning, or wake me up at 12, 1 at night, where I'm up until 5 or 6 at night, and it just destroys the next day. Establishing a hotline for 24/7 support would be helpful. If I had a crisis counselor available to speak with, if I had a method of documenting complaints into a recording device that can transcribe the words. Needs to be accessible 24 hours a day because directed energy weapon attacks often occur in the middle of the night. Targeted individuals need the ability to call in any time to log complaints by phone that can be recorded and then transcribed into words to be attached to a file. Excuse me, you're still getting me. Establishing a website for 24/7 support. These are all government run. There are a lot of disinformation websites that are run by private organizations or wannabe charities that are pushing misinformation, keeping you disinformed, suppressing you. Establishing a website for 24/7 support. Crisis counselors available to speak with via chat on my computer. Method of recording and documenting detailed complaints and attaching them to an individualized case. Needs to be accessible 24 hours a day because directed energy weapon attacks often occur in the middle of the night. And targeted individuals need the ability to record directed energy weapon attacks from anywhere and at any time to a website. Now, establishing a physical location for 24/7 support is a little bit more complicated because of the money that's involved in securing the physical space. However, it would be extremely helpful in the sense that crisis counselors would be available to speak with in person. There would be a method of recording and documenting complaints of attacks with directed energy weapons utilizing computers, printers, and scanners. Currently, emergency rooms and police stations aren't sufficiently providing the support and assistance needed because of their lack of knowledge with the potential capabilities of directed energy weapons. Need to eliminate the fear of incarceration against a targeted individual's will unless they represent a threat to themselves or others in society. Needs to be accessible 24 hours a day because of the directed energy weapon attacks that occur in the middle of the night. And targeted individuals need a place to go to find shelter and solace in order to adequately combat isolation. Utilizing existing social services would build upon the existing infrastructure. You could piggyback on other social meetings such as Alcoholics Anonymous's meetings until they gather enough momentum and support to operate independently. Also, spiritual gatherings offer an alternative to isolation as well. Now, conference calls work to both their advantages and disadvantages to the conference calls. Each evening, people gather on free conference call to discuss the latest issues and advice. The calls can help alleviate some of the isolation, but the constant discussions about conspiracy theories serves to work as disinformation and can mislead targeted individuals. They have advantages and disadvantages. Some of the disadvantages are they are a peer pressure group. Only source for news gives you nothing to compare. And there's a ton of disinformation that's floated out there without proof. The advantages: it is a social activity. It does keep you involved socially. It's a place to vent and complain. That does act in your benefit. And it does provide a place to receive news for hope. Second recommendation for the task force is the key to success in spirituality. Spirituality is another solution to the domestic terrorism problem. These types of extreme crimes do not occur when the attacker is a firm believer in any theory of spirituality, not religion specific, but rather the impression that they will have to explain their actions to someone or something at some point, and that their life might continue in some form after one passes away. Giving people a sense of spirituality of life after death fosters a responsibility for one's actions in this lifetime. Knowing that factors from their actions in this life will affect their stature in their next life keeps people honest and fosters good behavior. The extremists are actually going out in a blaze of glory and committing suicide by cop after having been put under the impression that their life is being held hostage and ruined. If the people exhibiting extreme behavior can be taken down with non-lethal force, it can be confirmed that they are hearing two different voices at any given time. We're told their government is responsible and their harassment is similar to that outlined in electronic harassment. They can be given the test for harassment mentioned later in this document. Also, there needs to be a rehabilitation regimen encompassing all aspects of spirituality with counselors available for consultation and to reaffirm religion. In the meantime, we can start immediately by providing a 24-hour conference call hotline with branches run by citizens to assist those in need 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Volunteer life coaches should be made available, as well as doctors and any other useful professionals in society. There needs to be a support network set up and available at any time, because people can get attacked at the push of a button and need assistance immediately, whether or not somebody is familiar with the subject to talk to or an accredited professional. Targeted individuals have to have, or develop very quickly, a sense of spirituality when their lives are hijacked. If not, the targeted individual will be easily manipulated by them, and it is too late. Possible sources can be from classes online. More possible sources of spirituality can include church and church groups, and can be taught by parents and family and friends. The next third key to success in directed energy weapon abuse. Spaced out my brain. Third step, key to success, is strengthening and maintaining relationships. Moreover, targeted individuals need to maintain relationships to keep from being isolated. Friendship maintenance keeps them in contact with those they are close to. All of the relationships in a targeted individual's life will be tested. Knowing this ahead of time prepares them for the stress and tension to come. Targeted individuals can proactively strengthen those relationships ahead of time so that they have a safety net to fall back on. If the relationships are not solid, things can spiral out of control, and that can work against them. For example, a friend may give them advice that is not relevant to their situation because of a lack of information. Further, the relationship may not be strong enough to withstand the stress associated with electronic harassment, and, unfortunately, they may need to be prepared to lose acquaintances as well as close friends and family. Promoting and fostering relationships on a friendly family and workplace basis reinforces relationships and prevents isolation for long periods. Developing skills to cope and promote interpersonal skills gives people the tools to communicate and reach out for help instead of allowing the frustration to get the best of them. Offer classes online to assist people in need. Please find below a list of group of people that a targeted individual would be likely to communicate with on a regular basis. Targeted individuals need to strengthen and reinforce the relationships of their friends, someone to talk to and get advice from, their family, sources of friendship, financial support, someone to fall back on, their neighbors. I would be friendly but keep your distance because they're going to get you with gangstalking. And if you're not close to your neighbors, there's no issues, but you cross over borders with your neighbors and it gets ugly really fast. Your employers and your colleagues. I used car accident with neck pain to explain all of the time that I missed off from work. That was a good excuse for me as far as my disability is concerned, and it didn't raise too much suspicion. And then they're gonna run into doctors. Now, I'm completely upfront with my doctors, so I tell them everything, and I tell them they have every right not to believe me. And most of them tell me they don't believe me, and I say that's fine. Just take care of me then. So, once we can get this assistance set out, these 3 keys to success in preventing extremism, we can work on an individualized treatment. We can assign a counselor to each targeted individual, a person hearing voices. Something along the lines of life coaches that can keep targeted individuals organized and can coordinate treatment. They can be automated and even made into an app. Each person's experience with electronic harassment is unique to their specific circumstances and environment. The games they play with directed energy weapons are usually all the same, but the content differs because it depends on the individuality of the person being attacked. Targeted individuals' confusion can be unwound by counselors that are knowledgeable and familiar with the potential capabilities of directed energy weapon technology. Psychologists or psychiatrists are trained differently and not equipped to recognize and distinguish the symptoms of remote neural monitoring and electronic harassment. They need to learn the capabilities of directed energy weapons in order to properly diagnose and treat targeted individuals. Targeted individuals need some immediate relief. Most of them have been isolated and have been operating independently and by themselves for a long time. A counselor can be assigned to help chaperone applications to help expedite the process for the following: a fast track and assist in the application and process for Medicare, food stamps, income assistance, Section 8 housing, clean, organized environment, access to home care nurses, crisis counselors, psychiatric services, and physical therapists, and a client file to compile documented complaints and medical records in one central area. The assistance programs can come from a conglomerate of bureaucratic sources, including city, county, state, and federal sources. They've got housing, income, food. Next, once you've addressed the symptoms, you can distinguish electronic harassment from mental illness. I have a test. I'm not going to go into the test right now because this video is getting kind of long. You can read the test online at dewtaskforce.blogspot.com. That's dewtaskforce.blogspot.com or mindcontrolinformation.blogspot.com. If you want to email me, you can reach me at mindcontrolinformation@gmail.com. Once they get the individualized treatment going, they can begin the deconstructing of the gangstalking with a psychiatrist, and then we get into rehabilitation, psychological and physical therapy, and setting up a net like this and on this kind of level would really address the homeless situation, since so many targeted individuals have been driven down to a point where they're homeless. You would take a substantial portion of the homeless off the streets if you were able to enact these 3 recommendations and start giving people places to complain and address some of these issues. Overall, classes on spirituality free from any specific religion, professional occupational training from home, schedule management, consulting efforts to balance lifestyle, physical training advice, medical advice based on the reports gathered from life coaches, and assistance for medical and health supervision are all extremely useful people being abused with directed energy weapons. Prevent isolation and facilitate documentation of complaints. I'm sorry, that didn't make any sense. Are all useful for people being abused with directed energy weapons. We need to prevent isolation and facilitate the documentation of complaints. We need to promote relationships with friends and family. And we need to reinforce a sense of spirituality. Those aren't major things to do. They can all be done very feasibly. And establishing a task force that prevents the isolation, repairs interpersonal relationships, and promotes a sense of spirituality will create a safety net that is designed to catch people from spiraling downward and prevent acts of extremism in the long run. Again, this document is at dewtaskforce.blogspot.com. Thanks for listening, and hope to end soon. I wish everybody the best of luck.